Hi folks, so for today's lesson we're going to have a look at something called proportion. Now it's really closely linked to the ratio work that we've just been doing recently, okay, and so for that reason I'm going to put in a couple of key words. And I'd like you to get these written into your books, please. Box them off, make them stand out because you do need to look back at them quite often. So the first one is ratio, and you should have this in there anyway, but I'd like them just to be in there next to each other so you can compare them. So a ratio is when we compare, I'm just going to put it quite short here, comparing part to part. Okay, so we're looking at one part of something and comparing it to another part of something. So for example, we might look at the ratio of cows to sheep. Okay, there's your one part, there's your other part. We might look at the ratio of, I'm trying to think now, blue Skittles to yellow Skittles in a bag. Okay, do you even get blue Skittles? I'm not sure. Might be thinking of M&Ms. But there we are. So we're comparing one thing to another. Now the second one I want us to write down is obviously going to be proportion. And just find a different colour so it stands out a bit. And this is our second keyword, proportion. And this is where we compare, or comparing, part to whole. Okay, so here we might be looking at, well, how many cows are there out of the whole field of animals, okay? We might be looking at how many blue Skittles there are out of the bag, okay, out of all of them. So this is where we're comparing something to the whole thing. And I've got some examples here for us to just have a quick try, as well as some for you to try at home. So make sure they're in your books, really useful notes. Now then, here's our first example. So the ratio, let me just line those up a bit clearer. There we are. The ratio of staff to students at a school is 1 to 15. What fraction of the school are students? So what this tells us is that for every one member of staff, there are 15 students. Okay, so if there were 2 members of staff, we'd have 30 students and so on. But what we want to know is, what is the fraction of the entire school that are students? So remember, this is our proportion here. Proportion is shown as a fraction. And we're looking at the number on the bottom is going to be the total number of all the parts. So we've got 15 at the 1. So we've got 16 altogether. Okay, in our ratio, there's 16 altogether. And how many of them are students? Remember, the staff is the first name, so that's the staff of the number 1. And the students come second, so they're the 15. So the proportion of the school that are students is 15 out of 16. Okay, let's try another one. Okay, a maths class has 18 girls and 12 boys. Write the ratio of boys to girls. Okay, right. Now that tells us that there's not a lot of work to be done. There's not a lot of work to be done. We should be able to just see that. So boys to girls. So I quite like to do it this way and just write that as a ratio first. So boys to girls, and then underneath I just have to substitute in the numbers. So we've got 12 boys and 18 girls. And actually we can simplify that, can't we? Because these are both multiples of 6. So we can divide by 6 here and divide by 6 here. And we get 2 to 3. Okay. And then so for part 2, what proportion of the class are girls? So I'm going to write here, proportion of girls. So here we're comparing girls to the whole class. So out of, how many have we got all together? How many parts? Well, we've got 3, 4, 5. And how many of those are girls? The 3. Now, you might wonder, what happens if you use these numbers? Okay, well, let's have a look. So if all together, if we looked at this set of numbers here, let's just kind of make those stand out a little bit for a moment. Because how would you know which set of numbers to use? Well, altogether here, we've got 30 students, and 18 of them are the girls. We've got two different fractions. So how do we know which one's right? I wonder if anyone can spot, but actually what we've got here are equivalent fractions. These are the same, because this one has got two multiples of 6. And so if we divide the top and bottom, if we simplify this fraction, we actually get 3/5. Okay, so they are the same. So it doesn't particularly matter which set of numbers you use. Okay, and personally I'd go with the simplified one just because it's a little bit less work to do. Okay, it takes out a step. I've got one more example for us to have a look at, and then I'll let you get on with trying some by yourself. So here we've got the ratio of sheep to cows on a farm is 2 to 3. So what fraction of the animals are sheep? So again, we're looking at how many are there altogether. And don't forget, this is how many parts. We don't know how many actual animals are in this field. Okay, this is just our representation. This is our ratio. So for every 2 sheep, there are 3 cows. So we don't know. There could be 10 sheep and 15 cows. Okay, we've not been told that. We just want to know the fraction. So altogether, we've got 3, 4, 5 parts. So that goes on the bottom. That's our denominator. And on the top, we're looking at sheep. So that's the first one. So we've got 2/5. And then the second part of this question asks what proportion or what fraction of the animals are cows. So we're going to have out of 5 again, because we've still got 5 there. And there are 3 parts, which are cows. And quite nicely, if you notice, the 2/5 adds 3/5. I'm just going to pop this over here, look. 2/5 add 3/5 does equal 1. Okay, which is nice, isn't it? Because we know we've not missed anything. Everything's accounted for there. We've not lost anything. No sheep have just run off down the road. Right, folks, have a go at the examples I've put up for you to try. Take down a couple of these notes if they're helpful for you, and get in touch if you've got any issues.